Natural language processing, NLP, is a subfield of artificial intelligence that focuses on the interaction between computers and humans through natural language. The goal is to enable computers to understand, interpret, and generate human language in a way that is both meaningful and useful. NLP encompasses a range of tasks, including text analysis, translation, sentiment analysis, and more. In this presentation, we will delve into how to consume a language model from a client application, a crucial aspect of implementing NLP solutions. Language models are algorithms that can predict the next word in a sentence, generate text, or understand context. They are trained on vast amounts of text data and can perform various NLP tasks. Examples include OpenAI's GPT-3, Google's BERT, and others. These models have revolutionized the field by providing powerful tools for text generation, translation, and more. Consuming these models from a client application involves making API calls, handling responses, and integrating the model's capabilities into your application. Before consuming a language model, you need to set up your development environment. This typically involves installing necessary libraries, setting up an API key, and configuring your application to communicate with the language model's API. For instance, if you're using OpenAI's GPT-3, you would need to install the OpenAI Python client library, obtain an API key from OpenAI, and configure your application to use this key for authentication. Proper setup ensures smooth communication between your client application and the language model. To consume a language model, your client application will need to make API calls to the model's endpoint. This involves sending HTTP requests with the necessary parameters, such as the input text and any specific configurations for the model. For example, using Python, you might use the requests library to send a post request to the model's API endpoint. The request would include headers for authentication and a JSON payload containing the input text. Understanding how to structure these API calls is crucial for effectively consuming the language model. Once your client application makes an API call to the language model, it will receive a response containing the model's output. This response is typically in JSON format and includes the generated text or other relevant data. Your application needs to parse this response and handle it appropriately. For instance, you might extract the generated text and display it to the user, or use it in further processing. Properly handling API responses ensures that your application can effectively utilize the language model's capabilities. When consuming a language model, it's important to implement robust error handling and debugging mechanisms. API calls can fail for various reasons, such as network issues, authentication errors, or invalid input. Your client application should be able to gracefully handle these errors and provide meaningful feedback to the user. This might involve retrying the request, logging the error for further analysis, or displaying an error message. Effective error handling ensures a smooth user experience and helps in diagnosing issues quickly. Consuming a language model can involve significant computational resources and costs, especially if you're making frequent API calls. It's important to optimize your API usage to minimize costs and improve performance. This might involve batching requests, caching responses, or using more efficient input formats. Additionally, you can fine-tune the model's parameters to balance between performance and cost. Optimizing API usage ensures that your application remains efficient and cost-effective, while leveraging the power of the language model. When consuming a language model from a client application, security is a critical concern. This includes securing your API keys, encrypting data in transit, and ensuring that your application adheres to best practices for data privacy. API keys should be stored securely and not hard-coded in your application. Data sent to and from the language model should be encrypted using HTTPS. Additionally, you should be aware of any data privacy regulations that apply to your application and ensure compliance. Security considerations are essential for protecting sensitive data and maintaining user trust. Consuming a language model from a client application opens up a wide range of use cases and applications. These include chatbots, virtual assistants, content generation, sentiment analysis, and more. For instance, a customer support chatbot can use a language model to understand and respond to user queries effectively. Similarly, a content generation tool can use the model to create high quality articles or social media posts. Understanding the potential applications of language models helps in identifying opportunities to enhance your application with NLP capabilities. To illustrate the process of consuming a language model, let's consider a case study of implementing a chatbot. The chatbot will use a language model to understand user queries and provide relevant responses. The process involves setting up the environment, making API calls to the language model, handling responses, and optimizing the chatbot's performance. By following best practices for error handling, security, and API usage, the chatbot can provide a seamless user experience. This case study demonstrates the practical steps involved in integrating a language model into a client application. The field of NLP is rapidly evolving, with new advancements and trends emerging regularly. Future trends include more powerful and efficient language models, improved understanding of context, and better handling of diverse languages and dialects. Additionally, there is a growing focus on ethical considerations, such as reducing bias in language models and ensuring fair and responsible use of NLP technologies. Staying informed about these trends helps in leveraging the latest advancements and ensuring that your NLP solutions remain cutting edge and effective. Consuming a language model from a client application is a powerful way to implement NLP solutions. By understanding the process of setting up the environment, making API calls, handling responses, and optimizing usage, you can effectively integrate language models into your applications. Additionally, considering security, error handling, and future trends ensures that your solutions are robust and forward-looking. The next steps involve exploring specific language models, experimenting with API calls, and identifying potential use cases for your applications. With these insights, you can harness the power of NLP to create innovative and impactful solutions.